Hello, inquisitive minds and enthusiastic learners. Welcome to another interesting Ignite session by Westward for Business. So, for those who are joining our session for the first time, let me introduce myself. I'm Upasana Nambiar, the training coordinator at Westward for Business and your host. Let me also quickly brief you on WFB Ignite. So, this is a series of online workshops and webinars organized by Westward for Business. Now, these sessions aim to provide virtual training solutions to bridge the competency gaps within organizations in the best way possible, primarily to address critical issues within the organizational context through professional development programs. WFB Ignite sessions are designed to be relevant and responsive to the current business trends and business needs around the world. These sessions are led by WFB trainers who are professionals and consultants with years of industry experience. Moving on, so today's WFB Ignite session is on secrets to building collaborative teams in 2024. And the session is facilitated by Mr. Alan Lucas. Mr. Alan Lucas, management faculty, trainer, and consultant with 20 plus years of industry experience, donning various roles such as manager, consultant, trainer, and teacher. He has consulted with small and large businesses in the areas of people and performance management, as well as in leadership, strategy, and organizational development. He has developed learning content for numerous programs as well as experience working on instructor led and e learning programs for clients such as Sear Holdings, Asian Paints, Ultratech, Synthite, and Abhyudaya Bank. He completed his MBA from Western Michigan University and joined IT companies in Virginia in the contract staffing and IT project outsourcing arena. As business head of India operations, he helped set up and manage a dedicated offshore center for a US-based IT company at Hyderabad, India. He later moved to teaching and consulting and is currently a full-time learning consultant and trainer at Westward for Business. Before I hand over the session to Mr. Allen, I would like to remind you all to feel free to send in your comments, suggestions, and feedback over the chat box, and you may post your session-related questions under the Q&A segment down below. So without further ado, let me please invite Mr. Allen to kickstart this exciting session on secrets to building collaborative teams in 2024. Over to you.
Thank you, Upasana, for that wonderful introduction. And hello, everyone, and hope all of you can hear me well. Right? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, if I'm audible. No? Yes? I don't see any thumbs up at all. Right? You can hear well. Okay, I see you're typing it. You're audible. All right. So I'm going to share the screen. We're going to use some of the key points in the PPT as well, but I would like this to be a little bit more interactive. So let me start with one of my experiences. So like Upasana said, I was heading an offshore unit in India, and this was my first experience heading a large team. And what I understood was that if you let teams to be and go on their own without clear directions and clear leadership, you can end up with just chaos. So how do you ensure that you have teams that work well, that communicate well, that coordinate well, and they perform and deliver the results that you want for your organization? So we are going to discuss that. If you are a manager, am I audible now? Can you hear me? Upasana, am I audible or is it lagging?
Yes, you are audible. I can hear you well.
Abdullah, if it is only from your side, maybe you can log in again. I will take it slow. Just log off and log in again, right? All right, all right. So if others can hear me well, I am going to continue. So the key thing that we are going to discuss is that, how do we create collaborative teams? Now let's start with just an example. Suppose I take my table that I'm using right now. I take it to the top of the building and I drop it. It will fall down, right? Because the force of gravity is affecting any object on Earth, right? So force of gravity affects all objects that are on Earth, right? But at the same time, you'll find that there are aeroplanes that are flying and they carry 300, 400 people and they don't fall down. What is the difference? Why are airplanes able to fly while a table, when I throw it down, it does not fly? Anyone? Gravity is not there affecting the airplane, or why is the airplane flying and the table not flying? You can type it in the chat if no, nobody wants to suggest. Well, I will give the answer myself. So the gravity, the pilot could be, yes. Also, the airplane is shaped in a different manner, right? The airplane is shaped with, exactly like Fatima said, the airplane is shaped in a manner that allows it to fly, that creates the thrust under the wings. And then, yes, the pilot is there who accelerates and gets the airplane off the turf. So the key thing is that the principles that the airplane operates on are different from the principles that the table operates on, because it is shaped different, it is created different. Similarly, you can have teams that do not work well, that do not communicate well, that do not collaborate, and ultimately you end up with just chaos and conflict in teams if you do not have the right principles driving your team. If you have the right principles driving your team, you will have collaboration, harmony, good coordination, communication, and ultimately good creativity and the ability to get results from your teams. So if you are attending this and you are a manager managing a small tight-knit team or even a large department, you'll find some of these nuggets of information very, very useful for you. Right now, these are specifically from a study called the Project Aristotle, and that is, you have 350 staff. Yeah. So regardless of you have 350 or 30, right? These nuggets of information might be useful for you. And this is not information that I generated. Rather, this is from a study called the Project Aristotle. And this was a project by Google, because Google wants to get to the science of everything, right? So they just didn't want to go with, generic textbook principles. Rather, they wanted to test it out. So Project Aristotle was their attempt to find out what makes good teams and how can you get teams to perform well, right? And I'm going to share with you 4 findings that I have found very useful, and I'm sure you will find them useful as well. Maybe some of those principles you are unconsciously using as a leader, but it is good to have them clarified and then those conceptually understood. So I'm going to share the screen and we will start. All right, I hope you can all see my screen. So these findings are pretty recent, and it's still being talked about, discussed, etc. So that's why you will find these findings helping you this year and going forward. Now, who is this webinar specifically for? These are people who are going to manage a team. You can be a team leader managing 30, 20 people, or you could be a VP managing thousands of people under you. You could be a business owner. You could also be a HR manager who would want to do trainings on this for your staff. You could also be a management professional who does consulting for improving team performance. So if you are in these criteria, categories, you will find this very useful. Others too, but then if you have a team, that would be better. Now, one of the key objectives for this is to help you understand the drivers of successful collaboration. You can get the best people, superstars from various domains, have them come together, but you cannot make them work together. You cannot force them to work together, right? So how do you get people from diverse backgrounds, and how do you get them to collaborate, give their best, and come out with newer, more creative ideas for driving your business success? Then specifically, the focus here is on Google's Project Aristotle, and what are the key findings that we can use and apply. And at the end, I'm also going to talk about how we can specifically apply some of these findings in our teams. Now, why is collaboration important? I know you already know this, but I'm just going to list out some of the key things that are evident. First and foremost is that in the past 2 years, you'll find that the amount of collaboration between employees, managers, etc., have just increased. Studies say that it is ballooned by about 50%. If you look at your own work life, you'll find that 3/4 of your day is spent communicating with colleagues, right? So again, a great deal of collaboration is there in your work life, day-to-day work life. Studies have shown that when groups collaborate well, they find mistakes faster, and they innovate faster, and they find out better solutions to problems. Now, when people work in teams, they tend to have greater job satisfaction. Also, some studies, especially one study in 2015, found out that profitability has definitely increased because of increased collaboration. So these are some benefits of collaboration, and why that's why it is a necessity for you to improve collaboration between members in your team. Now, what are some challenges managers or team leaders face? If you have a team, and if you are managing a team, you'll agree with me that it is very difficult to get people with different personalities and work styles to come together and generate great ideas and deliver high levels of business performance. It's not easy at all, right? And when you add in remote work to that, when people are in isolation in different parts of the world and they have to collaborate, that makes it even more complicated. When there is conflict, which naturally arises between team members if they have been working for some time, especially ones with strong personalities, or when the company has lack of resources, etc. So conflict is natural, right? And you add conflict to that, and then unbalanced workload distribution and communication issues. So when you put all these things together, it's a sure shot recipe for failure of a team, and as well as chaos that you as a manager will have to face. So how do we, so this is the place where we talked about, when I started, we talked about gravity. When you let team to go without applying the principles of good collaboration and high performance, you will end up with conflict and chaos. So you have to deliberately reorient the team towards harmonious working and greater collaboration. How do you do that? Now, let me talk about Project Aristotle. It started in 2012 because Google was not, I would say, happy with just the textbook solutions for increasing collaboration. They really wanted to find out, because they are all about data. So they said, let's look at variety of studies. We are also going to look at our own teams, and we're going to collect data. And we want to find out what are those primary factors that lead to high performing teams. Right? In the traditional concept, when you read textbooks, etc., you will find that how do you get good teams? You get in people, superstars in each domain, you get them together and ensure that they are of similar backgrounds, they think alike, etc., so that the cohesiveness is built up, and then they will perform better. So they wanted to also challenge that. They were not sure if that worked. Now, these were the 4 findings that Google had. First and foremost is that Google found out that the unwritten rules, the rules that are not written but practiced in teams, hold a great impact, right? They can make or break the team. That is one. Second is that psychologically safe teams tend to perform better. It is not about superstars in the team, rather teams where people with, good levels of competence, but who feel psychologically safe, they tend to perform better. When you say psychologically safe, they are able to voice their opinions, they are able to take risks, make mistakes without criticism or fear of punishment. The next one is that, and this is very unique, this was a surprise for me too. Teams that scored high on conversational turn taking. What is conversational turn taking? Everyone gets to speak for equal amount of time. And while they are speaking, everybody listens to them. They get the attention of others too while they speak, right? And when this is being done, the collaboration seems to really multiply. The next and the last important one is that creating an environment where a person can break through the facade they usually put up. For example, when you go to work, you take on a professional image and you try to project that into the team, right? Because that's how you want people to see you. There is a genuine human self underneath somewhere, which is kept hidden because professional life is professional, personal life is personal, right? But when you find that when the person really starts expressing their real self and they express their vulnerabilities, etc., then the bonding increases, sensitivity of the team increases, and that leads to smoother functioning of the team. Now I'm going to look at each one of them so that we get a clearer understanding of this. So traditionally, the idea was that you get good people, highly competent people, and then you put them together and then build a cohesiveness among them and they will perform well. Now that was not found to be as important by Google, right? Not as important as the 4 points that we talked about, and primarily among those 4 points, team norms and psychological safety. Now, I'm going to talk about norms first. Now, what are norms? Norms are really unwritten rules. There has been other studies earlier. There was a study by Solomon Ash on the effect of norms on teams. And you can look it up. That's a very impactful study that talks about group behavior and the effect of norms on them and how it can be used for good and bad. So it can be dangerously used or it can be used for constructive purposes. Now, there are 2 types of norms in general when we speak about norms. One is norms regarding your tasks. How should tasks be done? What are the quality standards we need to adhere to? What deadlines have to be met? How are we going to ensure performance standards are met, etc. So those types of norms are set. The next is social norms. Social norms has to do with interaction with people, that is interpersonal interactions, communication styles, the support that each one gives the other, all of that are social norms. Now, these 2 norms have a great impact on team management. One is it improves team cohesiveness, that is the bonding and the team spirit. And the second is it ensures that the performance standards are maintained when you have proper norms in place. Now, for this, I'd like to give you tell you a small story. If you see monkeys here, so if you take 5 monkeys from the wild, right, and you put them in a cage, and then you put bananas hanging from the top of the cage and a ladder to the bananas, right? You'll find that the monkeys, because they are from the wild and they like bananas, they will get onto the ladder and they will try to eat the bananas. So that's a natural behavior, right? Now, suppose you put in a system where every time the monkey touches the ladder, everybody in the cage gets sprayed with water, high intensity spray of water, right? And everybody gets drenched in the cage. So all the 5 monkeys, each time any monkey tries to get the banana, everybody in the cage gets drenched with water, right? So eventually what will happen? If this happens 1 or 2 times, they try, what will happen eventually? Eventually, the monkeys will give up, right? And they will just sit there, not touch the bananas. So now you have 5 monkeys in the cage. They're sitting in the cage. The bananas are hanging. Ladder is there to reach the cage, but nobody is touching the banana. Now you take out 3 monkeys, and then you introduce 3 new monkeys. Will these 3 monkeys be able to get the bananas? Now you don't use the spray anymore. Think. I can't see your chat, but if you introduce the 3 monkeys, do you think the 3 monkeys will be able to get the bananas now? You can type in the chat if thinking. So imagine the spray is no longer there. Now, what will happen is that if the 3 monkeys attempt to touch the bananas, the other 2 monkeys in the cage will stop them, even fight them, right? And eventually, these 3 monkeys will give up. So you have now again 3 new monkeys and 2 old monkeys in the cage, bananas hanging and nobody touching the bananas. Now you remove the 2 monkeys and bring in 2 new monkeys from the wild. Right? Now you have 5 new monkeys in the cage. And the 2 new monkeys also would not be able to touch the bananas because the 3 monkeys have been conditioned. Right? Now what will happen is that you have 5 new monkeys in the cage, the bananas hanging from the top, and the ladder available to access the bananas, but nobody is touching the bananas and nobody knows why. Right? So this is this is an analogy for what happens in organizations as well. Sometimes there are certain ways in which things are done in the organization and nobody questions that. It is sometimes for the good, sometimes for the bad. But as a leader, it is up to you to analyze those norms that are set in the organization and see, is it helping us or is it not helping us? Now, I'm going to show you a small video to show you the power of norms. It is going to be slightly amusing, but yeah, it will help understand how human beings are affected day to day by these unwritten rules. So I'm going to play the video here.
The gentleman in the elevator now is a candid star. These folks who are entering, the man with the white shirt, the lady with the trench coat, and subsequently one other member of our staff will face the rear. And you'll see how this man in the trench coat tries to maintain his individuality. But little by little, he looks at his watch, but he's really making an excuse for turning just a little bit more to the wall. Now we'll try it once again. Here's the candid subject. Here comes the candid camera staff, 3 of them at least. And this man has apparently been in groups. Here's a fella with his hat on in the elevator. First he makes a full turn to the rear and Charlie closes the door. A moment later, we'll open the door. Everybody's changed positions. See if we can use group pressure for some good. Now, in a moment, on Charlie's signal, everybody turns forward. Notice they take off their hats. Do you think we could reverse the procedure? Watch.
All right, I hope all of you could watch the video. It is an amusing way, but the underlying principle is that group pressure has great impact on human behavior, right? It can be used for good or bad. Now, yes, in the elevator, it's amusing, but when it comes to work life, it can break or make your team. It can ensure that performance standards are met, or it can lead to failure to organizations if you are not aware of it. So the first, I would say the first task of a leader is to question the norms that the teams are operating with and under. Now, if you find the norms are not supportive, you deliberately have to involve your team members and try to change it, right, to something which is more positive for your team. Now, we'll talk about how to do that. The next one is the power of psychological safety. Suppose you try to speak in the team, possibly in the team you are not having the necessary hierarchy. Each time you speak, you're interrupted. Your ideas, nobody listens to. What is happening is that eventually you're going to stop wanting to contribute to the team. And you might have great ideas, but nobody in your team wants to listen, and that those ideas are ignored. Now, this can be very disastrous for teams. Now, what happened, I think an example I would like to give you is that all of you know John F. Kennedy. So John F. Kennedy, very popular, lots of successes in various areas. But one of his greater failures was in the war with Cuba, which is known as the Bay of Pigs. So he got people, the top generals, and he asked them to think and give ideas on how to defeat Cuba. And they all came to the conclusion. And these were people with expertise in wars, battles, many years of that. And they all came to the idea that they should go to the Bay of Pigs in stealth mode, and then they should attack from there. And they will be first catching the Cubans by surprise. They also they also knew that Cuba did not have enough weapons and artillery. So they naturally had an advantage. And because it's a surprise attack, they're definitely going to win. But the problem here was that a typical group thing has been demonstrated here, where nobody questioned this. All was based on assumption because somebody higher up has put forth this idea. We cannot question that. Nobody in the teams questioned this. Nobody even thought about the different factors which they put forward. For example, they just assumed that Cuba had less artillery and weapons. They just assumed that if they attack in the night, they'll be catching them by surprise. But what happened is that when they actually launched the attack, the Cubans were ready and the Americans were massacred. So that was a big defeat for John F. Kennedy also himself. Now the entire thing can be, connected to the aspect of groupthink, where nobody is questioning assumptions on which the groups are making decisions. So this is very important that you have the psychological safety within groups. As a leader, you have to create that, where people are free to voice. It can be silly ideas. It can be, something which is not in their domain, but they can still voice their opinions and ideas and be listened to and not be ignored. So having this is crucial, and having this environment is crucial for leaders to generate better solutions for problems that they face. So psychological safety has been found to increase innovation and creativity, improve decision making, stronger team bonding and trust, and then overall enhanced team performance. So if you want collaboration in your teams, you need to set the stage first. First is assess the norms, understand what norms are limiting us, what norms are helping, and deliberately change the norms that are not working in favor of the teams performing well. Second is that building the norms necessary for psychological safety for each person, regardless of hierarchy in the team, regardless of expertise domain. Everybody in the team should have the freedom to express what they feel, their opinions, and be listened to also. So that, again, that is a norm, though those can be set in by the leaders themselves. Now, how do we make it practical? So we understood these criteria from the study of Aristotle. How do we make it practical? First one is establishing norms. So it is up to the leader, like I said, to question what norms is my team operating under. Maybe you have a large team, maybe you have multiple groups that you handle. You will have to take the effort and then find out overall what are the paradigms under which our teams are operating. What are the unwritten rules? For example, if the leader says something, can nobody question that? Does that mean that the leader is a superman or a supergirl and they're always right, they know everything? That is impossible, right? But in a team, do you have a norm set where whatever the leader says nobody questions, or whatever whoever has a hierarchy, they are listened to, but people in the lower hierarchy are not listened to, right? Or not encouraged to speak. Some people are encouraged to speak and they take up most of the time, and others are not encouraged to speak. So if these norms exist, then you deliberately need to understand and then change them. Now, when you change them, you have to get your team members also on board, because you as a leader might have limited perception of what really happens in teams. Maybe you have large teams and you don't really know what happens in the smaller teams. So you need to have them also identify the norms that are being implemented there. Now, these are unwritten rules, right? And ask them to suggest what are the norms that are helping us, what are the norms that are not helping us, and then go on to have them create better rules so that everybody gets to contribute. Once the norms are set, you have decided on that, you need to communicate it to people, and you as a leader need to lead by example, right? So when somebody is speaking, you as a leader thinks that that is absolutely silly, that's not going to be in line with the organization, what we want. If you as a leader take the uh, you know initiative and shut that person down, then that culture is going to be set. Nobody is going to voice opinions or question the leader or say something silly or even brainstorm or create imaginary scenarios. Nothing will happen, right? Everybody just will be there sitting in meetings waiting for the leader to speak, and then blindly take instructions and implement, not thinking what the consequences are, not thinking if there are better ways to do that. So that you as a leader has to take the effort to lead by example, and then encourage accountability. Once you have the norms in place, it is up to the team members, whether the leader is there or not, to adhere to these norms. And you can make in systems in your teams where you can have clear norms. It can be regarding tasks, it can be regarding social interactions. For example, how to have a meeting, what will be done, who will start, when you have a problem, how will we discuss that, how much time will each person speak. So all these norms can be set. For example, you can have a meeting where you can say that, all right, we have this problem, I need you to give ideas, and each person speaks for 1 minute and give your ideas and perspective on this. So once you do that for a few meetings and you say this is how we are going to do meetings, that becomes a norm, right? And then when you're not there, encourage other people who are running meetings and having these interactions, encourage them to also ensure this is being enforced. So when you have these norms, when you have awareness of what is happening in your team, deliberately create the norms that are going to lead you towards where you want to go as an organization, then you will find the base is set. Now that is not enough. Let's go to the next one, which is psychological safety. For psychological safety, you need to specifically establish norms, ground rules for trust and respect, right? When in meetings, there are sometimes situations where one person gets humiliated, teased, taunted, or a few people, and they are bullied into not speaking, right? Or what they speak is being questioned, and they are made feel horrible that they even open their mouths, right? So that should not happen in your teams. Even though it is silly, maybe it takes a little bit more patience and tolerance from your side. As a leader, you should encourage that person, each person, to speak, because out of 10 times a person speaks utter stupidity, there might be one important idea. I've seen that. There can be one important idea that is of value to the organization. So ensure that as a leader, you create that safe space, encourage participation. When mistakes happen, allow people to share those mistakes. And then you'll find that the bonding will increase, trust will increase, and the criteria for psychological safety has been set. So again, psychological safety is set through setting norms of trust and respect. So these are interrelated, right? So you have norm setting, establishing norms, weeding out norms that are not useful, and then setting in specifically psychological safety norms in your team. Right? Once you do that, then it is necessary for two things, and this video talks about it. I think the video is not very clear, so I'll send the link now, and you can watch this later. All of you will get this. Upasana, do you want to? Can you send that link here?
Yes, I can send it. Yeah.
So what you see here are the key aspects about the application of Project Aristotle in this video. But I'll give you the key summary of this. What does the video say? So the video says that one of the important factors for team success was psychological safety. And team members, when they feel comfortable sharing ideas, taking risks, even saying silly things, being vulnerable without fearing negative consequences, that is when the team starts performing. And it is not dependent upon superstars. Very important. Remember the traditional view that you get the best of the best and then put them together in team, build cohesiveness, and then you get the best team performance. No, it is not necessary. You can get regular average people who are competent in various areas, but where they are able to share their ideas and then also see from different perspectives, share those perspectives, they tend to perform better. This is not me saying, this is the result of Google Aristotle project. And specific actions that you need to take in teams is equal speaking time. Very important. Everybody gets equal speaking time. And the next one is ostentatious listening. What is ostentatious listening? It is very active listening. When somebody is speaking, there is complete attention to what that person says. Now, whether that person is talking utter stupidity, that's fine. Maybe you can give a time limit for a person to speak. But when somebody speaks, the norm is that they get complete attention. They speak without interruption, without being questioned, etc., till they complete what they have to say. And this, by far, Google has found this to be the most, I would say, crucial aspect. What is that? Equal speaking time and ostentatious listening under the psychological safety norms that you have established, right, as a leader. Now, the next part is the aspect of increasing team sensitivity and bonding. So we talked about the four aspects. One is setting the norms. Second is we talked about psychological safety. Then we talked about conversation turn taking, which is equal speaking time and ostentatious listening. Now, the fourth one is to break through the facade that people bring to work. And I know it is common to all of us. At work, we carry with us our professional image, or ideally how people want to view us, which is good initially, right? But this can also be a huge barrier in collaboration. So as a leader, there are subtle ways to break this, and I'm going to share a tool with you, which will help you do that. But in Google, in the Google example itself, they found out that one of the managers, he was undergoing medication for an illness, and the team that he was handling was really not, performing well. And he called a meeting with the team, and they had to discuss the issues that they are facing, deadlines not met, project really not coming through. And he decided to start with, usually, we try to present ourselves as invincible, who can make no mistakes, who are invulnerable, Superman and superwomen, right? But he decided to expose the vulnerability that he had. And he started the meeting by saying that, I'd like to first apologize because I have kept this from you. I have been, having this medical condition for the past 6 months, and I've been taking medicines and, undergoing treatment. And because of this, it has affected my work. And I'm sorry that possibly there has been some delays in my responses to you, but this is the reason why I have that. Now, it was very difficult for him to say that, and he exposed that vulnerability to the team. And this encouraged other team members to talk about things, challenges, issues that they were facing. And slowly what happened is that when all these things were laid out for everyone to know, they found out that the team really now bonded together and the performance really took off from there. So breaking through the facades, understanding the human behind the image that they are projecting is key to building that bonding and sensitivity. Within which, yes, when you have meetings, you have the conversation time taking, equal speaking time, ostentatious listening, etc. But you also need to have this glue of sensitivity and bonding between the team members. Now, how do you do that? And one tool that has been used in organizations for long has been known as the Johari window. Um, for those who do not know, I'm going to quickly explain this. So it talks about different parts or facets of ourselves. So there are known parts, for example, things that are known to me about me, and things that are known to others. For example, Upasana told you some things about me, my experience, etc. Now you know it, and I also know it, right? But there are some things not known to me, but you know it. For example, I've been told earlier that I use the word all right a lot. Or if I speak too much, I start stuttering. Yeah, I didn't know this. Somebody had to tell me this. So these were my blind areas, things that I didn't know about myself, but others told me. And these are well meaning people, friends, people who care about you, who really talk about your weaknesses to you, or people who want to destroy you. Yeah, but people mostly it is if you ask for opinion, and it is the real friends that give you real good feedback. The next is things that I have kept from you. There are many things that you do not know about me. Yeah, and that is the hidden self of mine that are not known to others, but I know it, and possibly I want to keep it secret. Right. Then there is the unknown self, which is things that I do not know about myself and others do not know about you. Maybe that potential exists, but I do not know it. For example, you have a group meeting and you are forced to sing, and somebody finds out that you are a good singer, right? That potential exists. Maybe you never thought about yourself as analytical, but you've been given a work, and that potential comes out, and your analytical skills come out. So there are different facets: the open, blind, hidden, and unknown. Now, the key thing to understand is that these are windows, right? Open window, blind window, hidden and unknown windows. And these windows do not have equal proportions like you see here. The windows can be expanded. So that is the key thing about the Johari window. The windows can be expanded. Yeah. How do you expand the window? By asking for feedback. Yeah. Asking for feedback and then sharing things about yourself. So these are two ways to increase the open window. As the open window increases, it has been seen again and again in teams. As the open window increases in size, that means that things that you know about yourself and others know about you increases, the bonding and sensitivity in the team increases as well. And that has been found again and again. Now, let me give you an example. So there was uh, a bank manager. He came up from very poor, family, and then he, on his own effort, he built up his career, and he came to a position of a bank manager, which was a huge achievement for him. So he married a lady from a rich family, and she was well known in the social circles, etc. So, and she was an extrovert. She's always hosting events, parties, etc. So he does his work, she does her thing. And then one day he's coming back from work. He came a little early. He opens the door and goes in. Now, his house is designed in such a way that from the main hall, you cannot see the dining room, but she was sitting in the dining room with a friend, and she was talking about an event that they're planning. So the friend tells her, hey, this event, a lot of high net worth individuals will be there. Wouldn't it be great for your husband to come? He might get a few accounts from them and, boost the performance of the bank a little. She said, yeah, but I don't really want him to come. So this guy is hearing this. Yes, they don't know he's there. So she says, their friend says, why not? And she keeps on pestering her. Finally, she says that he eats like a cow. What does she say? She says, he eats like a cow. And what she meant to say is that you cannot take him anywhere, because when he starts eating, it is, I feel embarrassed around him. So he hears this too, and his heart really goes down to his stomach and he feels immediately depressed. He closes the door, goes out, and then sits alone for some time, comes back in the regular time. But this is haunting him, right? So, and then when he comes, his wife is smiling, talks nice to him, all of that. But then his face has fallen and he is depressed. He doesn't know how to handle this. So he one night they you know goes by, the next night he's sleeping but he cannot sleep. So his wife, she's a smart lady, she understands something is wrong, um, and she's not asleep, but while they are lying down to sleep, he bursts out and says, "I eat like a cow. That's what you think of me? Yeah, after all these years, that's what you think of me?" And he had it, and there was an outburst from him. And once he is calmed down, she knew that he had heard what she had said. Yeah. Once he had calmed down and all the emotion was out, then his logical mind started functioning. And then he realized for the past 5, 6 years, he has not got a promotion because that promotion will have him, interact with people in elite circles. And this could be one reason why his career had not taken off after being a manager. Right? Then, he calmed down and he finally asked her, "Why didn't you tell it to me earlier?" Yeah. If I had known earlier, uh, possibly I could have, gone to some etiquette training or, been more aware and careful. She said, "How would I tell you? It would hurt you if I tell you." Right. So that is the problem. So you have to actively encourage people to ask for feedback within the teams. Yeah, how did this do? Is the way in which I delivered the work good for you to take over and then meet your objective? So those kinds of feedback should constantly be freely given, as well as you should be also be sharing things about yourself, and that's up to the leader to allow people to open up and share things apart from work, um, about each person, so that everybody knows each person better, and that overall sets the foundation for greater collaboration and higher performance. So that is one tool. Johari window is one tool that you can use for building team sensitivity and bonding. So those are the key things I wanted to share with you. I'll go over the key ideas from Project Aristotle to help you build collaboration in the team. First is that ensure as a leader, you first have the awareness and get the team to look at the norms under which your teams are functioning, both task-based as well as social norms. And then find out the norms that are not working in your favor and then weed them out and bring in new norms instead. As a leader, you also have to, second point is to bring in the psychological safety for people to speak out and have their voice heard and being listened to is very important in the team. And that has been shown to boost team performance and collaboration. The next is that conversation, turn taking is hugely important. I already talked about that. As a leader, once you have set the norms, psychological safety is created, then ensure that your meetings and all those discussions you have, ensure you have conversation turn taking. And what is that word? Starts with O. Dash listening. Starts with O. What is that? It was a difficult word for me. Ostentatious listening. Ostentatious listening. So conversation turn taking and ostentatious listening. And the last one is that you break through the facade by bringing in and applying tools like Johari window and having those sharing and opening up sessions. So these will lay the foundation for, even if you have remote teams, this will set the foundation for greater collaboration in your team. So I encourage you to apply this in your teams and let me know whether it worked or not. Yeah, with that, I end my session. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Thank you, Prasanna. I think you can.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Allen. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to use the chat box or the Q&A segment to post your questions.
All is clear. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Yeah, I appreciate your patient listening as well. And I found this very useful. Things that I really didn't give much importance to stood out. So I would encourage you to share with us any inputs other than this that you would like to add from your own experience. If you'd like to type it in here, what else can we add? Because we can go back with a greater understanding. To improve collaboration, what else do you think from your experience works? Anyone can type it in the chat or so Abdullah, Fatima, I think Amal, mutual trust. And how do you build that? As a leader, how do you usually build that? Showing vulnerability. Okay, great. Thank you. Improve the rewarding system. Okay, yes. So behavior aligns with rewards, right? Yeah. So very good. Improve rewarding system. Anything else from your experience that you'd like to share here? Caring leadership. Yes, I think that is the need of the hour, right? Caring leadership, empathy. Yes, I think an entire webinar can be done on this part alone: empathy and caring leadership. So you're right. Excellent. Yeah. Anyone else has to share? Anything else? At the beginning of the work, there should be clear. Exactly. Clear working system. I think you can link it to the norms also, right? How the work should be done, how it should be delivered, processes, all of that should be clearly communicated as well. Yeah, thank you. Yes, thanks very much. Transparency is also key too. Yes. Yeah, I think on in adding to what Fatima is saying, regardless of what leadership style you naturally have, empathy, transparency, caring, all of that are, you need to adopt that into your style. I think that is necessary. Yes. Excellent. I think that's it. Yes, you will receive the attendance certificate. It will be emailed to you. Yeah. So thank you for your time. Over to Upasana.
Yeah. So thank you all for your time, interesting questions, enthusiasm, and participation in our session. And thank you, Mr. Allen, for igniting us all by sharing your knowledge and experience with us. It was refreshing session indeed. Dear learners, your suggestions and comments matter to us. So please do let us know your thoughts and suggestions for improvements so we can continue to improve and give you the best service. So after the session, you will receive a feedback form, which will only take about 3 to 5 minutes to complete it. So, and if you've opted for the certificate, you will receive your e-certificate within the day, which you can publish on LinkedIn as well. So see you again with another insightful WFB Ignite session. Until we meet again, thank you very much. Stay ahead, stay connected with Westwood for Business. Thank you.